Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast, where you'll learn about advanced wealth building strategies from real estate investing to creating massive ROI and secured retirement profits. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, grab a notepad, and lean in, because Big Mike has got the mic, starting now.
Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast. I'm the Big Mike Zlatnik, and today it is my pleasure and a privilege to welcome my really good friend, Jack Bosch. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Jack is a brother from the Collective Genius Mastermind. We've known each other for many, many years. He is a great educator. He is a land flipper. He's done land flipping and educated folks how to buy and sell land for many years. He's got a great multifamily business too. He's a great family man. He travels a lot with his family. So before we jump into business, would you tell us a little bit about where you live, your family? Let's start there, and then we'll jump into what you do in real estate.
Sounds good. I'm excited to be here. So my name is Jack Bosch and live in the Phoenix, Arizona area, in a part of Phoenix called Paradise Valley, which is basically close to Scottsdale, Arizona, and lived there for 24 years, I realize already. So I guess I like the heat. And married. My wife is my business partner. She's the co-founder of all our businesses. In some cases, she's the CEO. In some cases, I'm the CEO. And we have a 15-year-old daughter who actually, as of a couple of months ago, started in our coaching program, also buying and selling land. So I'm very excited to bringing up a young entrepreneur here too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. God bless. You have a wonderful family and wonderful spouse that's your partner in the business. That's awesome to have. And your daughter that wants to learn. My second oldest, started to learn a little bit about real estate too. So it's always awesome. Great to involve your kids in your business. So in Phoenix, nice and hot. So how did you get into land flipping? How did you get into land investing?
Yeah, so originally, just like you, I'm not from the United States. I'm from Germany, and I came in 1997 on a student exchange program to finish my college degree, to finish a master's here. And 3 weeks into it, I met my wife. Now we're married 22 years now, and and we decided, she's not from here either. She's from Honduras, Central America. So we decided to stay here and get that job, right? So finished college, got a job at a software company doing software implementation. Now, I want to add to that I'm not a software person. I'm not a mathematician. I probably got solid C's and D's in math, but somehow I had a little bit of experience in that field, because in Germany, where I had worked in a similar company, working my way up there while being in college. And so that was enough job experience to get that one job. I applied to like 20 different jobs. I got one only job offering. And that was the one I needed, because over the next 5.5 years, that one also actually got me, or us in this case, in the process. We got married and added my wife to my green card application. I got the green card in that process. But about two years into that, I very quickly realized that real estate, that software development, software implementation, consulting world is really not what I want to do in life. And I really realized that being an employee is not what I wanted to do in life. So we started looking around, and through a long process of trial and error, we came across real estate. And through an even longer process, it took a full 3 years for us to really figure out what we wanted to do in this entrepreneurial world. And in real estate, we stumbled into and developed a method of land flipping, which is basically like wholesaling houses, except for there's no house on it, which makes the entire process much, much simpler. So we started wholesaling land. We started picking up land for 10, 20 cents on a dollar and selling it for 60 cents on a dollar. And then these are low price pieces of land, usually below 100, even or below $50,000. So the first deal was worth like $10,000, and we got it for $400. And then we sold it for $4,000. But then there's also deals that we put under contract for $40,000 and then sold for $120, or a deal we put under contract for $90 and sold for $200,000 and so on. So basically, you make the same or better money than the house flippers do, just without the house, without actually having to see the property, without touching it. So we did not remove anything on it. We did not clear the land. We did not subdivide. Well, sometimes we split the land and sold them in pieces, but it's basically just simple wholesaling of these properties, and we started making money with that, enough to quit our job, enough to travel, enough to it took us 18 months to become a millionaire after we figured this out.
That's awesome. So thank you for sharing your entrepreneur in your heart, and discovering this early enough was a great blessing. And then land as a piece of real estate to invest in or to flip makes a lot of sense. Land actually flipping, like you said, is easier than house flipping. You don't have to deal with the renovations, repairs, inspections, all that stuff. So from that perspective, it also doesn't depreciate from that point of view.
So that's actually one of the reasons we then also started multifamily investing, because when you're in a active income, well, really for two reasons, because when you're in an active investment method, you're producing active income. So the moment you stop flipping houses, whatever, the moment you stop flipping or selling something actively, your income stops, right? Now, given we had also started doing a lot of self-financing, and I know you're funding a couple of guys, friends of us in the industry that do that too, and we've done a lot of self-financing. We built our self-financing into the 6 figures a month, but even those at some point of time end. And that's when over time, we started realizing that, well, we're going to live another bunch more decades, right? I was 37 by the time we had basically put this all, actually, was I 37? I don't remember. It was 2004. Actually, I was 34 years old by the time we were in the 7 figures for this business. And I was 35 by the time we were in the 8 figures on this business. And we realized, well, I'm going to probably live another 50 years. I don't know if I want to flip for 50 years. Let's start putting the money we're making into something that then has a longer time horizon. In some cases, we have now some multifamily properties that the holding horizon is like forever, really, because they're in good locations, they're good properties, they're fully upgraded, and we're going to hold them probably at least 20 years, I would think. And so it's become a hybrid on it. But we use land flipping as our cash machine and as our first cash flow machine.
Yeah, I appreciate that wisdom. And actually, a great nugget from the point of view that whatever the operating business you have, first of all, it can be volatile, right? Could be up and down. If the business is doing well, you're generating a lot of profit and cash. And if the economy turns or your business turns and things slow down, of course, your income level can drop. So unpredictability of business is a little bit of a concern. And the fact that you can sell land on seller financing is a very powerful tool, but it builds years of cash flow. You may not get all the immediate income. You're basically spreading the income over the years. It's like building a portfolio. But let me go back to the other point you made, that you decided to invest the proceeds from effectively transactional business in the year time horizon where the location is right. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is real estate 101, location, and obviously getting the assets hopefully at the right price with the right strategy. So it makes a lot of sense that what I like to call it is you go from transactional income generation to more of a wealth building exercise, long-term wealth building. It's a very different goals and very different objective. So let's continue your journey. I assume you continue to do your own land flips. You launched an educational platform, so you educate a lot of folks how to do it. And then
we started 2000. Go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and you ventured into multifamily assets, and I assume most of your investments are sort of your neck of the woods. Although the question I'll ask is if you've gone into other markets, and it's a painful question.
Yes, no, we have, and we are actually doing well in those markets. But yeah, I can walk you through it quickly. So basically, we started in 2002. We figured out our method. And so we started flipping land and started making money. By 2003, the green card arrived, and we were finally free. We finally could quit that job. And by that time, so we basically treated our land flipping business as plan B, and with the goal of making it plan A. Because again, remember, and you know that when coming here, you don't automatically get a green card, you don't automatically get a work permit, you don't automatically. My work permit was tied to that company. So the moment that company would have fired me, I would have lost my ability to stay in the United States. I would have had 60 days to find another job, or I would have had to leave the country. So it was really urgent because in the technology world, 2000, 2001, 2002, there was a big recession, the big dot-com bubble burst, the first round of that happened. And this company I worked for let go of a lot of people. So there was a lot of urgency behind us, which really made us work hard and work through the nights and so on to find that spot. But then finally 2003 came around, the green card arrived in June or September, June or August, June or July of 2003, that green card arrived. And by October 2003, I had quit my job. I had nowhere to go because we had this business started. So I basically went to my boss and said, hey, how long do you need me still to help you finish up this project? Because I didn't want to burn any bridges. And he says, like, hey, if you stay with us for another 6 weeks, we're good. So I stayed the 6 weeks and to finish this project, and then basically left in really good terms and lived happily ever after. So then we built this up to an 8-figure land flipping business in a matter of like 2-3 years. We actually for a while did our exit strategy became large land auctions. And that was actually a fun kind of thing because we basically rented a convention center. We bought 250 properties in a matter of 3 months, and then we would sell them all in one day. So we would put up a big auction, big advertising, 6 figures advertising, billboards, radio, television, newspaper advertising, put about 800 to 1,200 people in a room and sell these properties all in one day. That was really great and really, really profitable. But then 2008 happened. And in 2008, what happened is obviously as we went into 2007 and 8, we continued doing these auctions and people would just not show up for these auctions anymore. People were starting to turn their backs to real estate. And in that moment, that this concept just didn't work anymore. So we could still buy the properties, but we would have to sell them like much, much cheaper and mostly on seller financing. And that was all fine, but the margins were just eroded and it became more and more expensive. At the beginning, we had to spend $120,000 in advertising. In 2008, we had to spend $250,000 in advertising to get a third of the amount of people into the room. So at that point, we basically pulled the plug from that concept and we took our entire land flipping strategy online. So the purchase process continued to work. Because guess what? When real estate was down, when the market prices came down and there was blood on the streets and people lost their houses, guess what? People needed money. So they sold their pieces of land even cheaper to us than before. But the selling method of the big land auctions wasn't working anymore. So we needed to figure a different way to sell these properties. And at that point, it was just perfect timing because at that point, almost prior to that, people still had, and nowadays people forget that, people still had dial-up internet lines at home. They still had AOL with a plug-in and the boop, 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 this kind of stuff happening. Like you remember that, right? Yeah. And it took like 20 seconds for a page to load. And around 2008, people started, well, first of all, the iPhone was out. People started to do more on their phones. Most people had high-speed internet access. And people started buying massively stuff online. Now it's also normal, but it wasn't back then. And at that moment, we realized that to platforms like eBay, which doesn't work that well anymore, but other different websites, we could actually put these properties on websites for free and sell them to nationwide, internationally, even to any kind of buyer at a basically almost a zero marketing cost. So we would put our properties on today. We put them on Facebook Marketplace. Back then, we would put them on eBay. We put them on Zillow. We would not Zillow didn't exist yet. We were on Craigslist and so on. And people would pick up these properties. So instead of selling 250 properties a quarter, we would sell 50 properties a month, one by one. And we actually loved that.
Let me ask you a quick question. Were you buying again these properties? Where in Phoenix area, or they're all over the map, or
they're all over. We have done deals in 17 states and over 100 different counties. Typically, we buy properties in 3 kinds of areas: either infill lots in the city, or what we call the path. Second group is the path of growth, which is the area outside, like a range of like 30 to 50 miles outside of a larger city, and or larger acreage in more rural recreational areas. There's also, coincidentally with that, particularly with the last 10, 15 years, there's been a huge move towards living off the land again, living off the grid. I mean, there's Facebook groups with over 400,000 members of people that are looking for an off-the-grid piece of land that they can homestead on, that they can have chickens and have cows and all these kind of like things on there. Yet they still want internet access. They still want electricity and so on. So this off-the-grid living has developed a lot. And it's being really supported right now with a lot of things like what is Elon Musk's satellite internet company, Skylink, I think it's called. With Skylink, you can now have internet almost everywhere. Solar is now affordable enough that you can have electricity in remote places. You drill a well, you have water, you're good, right? You're good. So bottom line is these are the three kinds of properties we typically flip. And yeah, so 2008 came along and we started realizing that our business model did not stop working. As a matter of fact, it worked just as well. Margins were down, of course. We were not unaffected by that. Instead of buying a property for $10,000 and selling it for $50,000, we would now buy it for $5,000 and sell it for $25,000. So our margins were, instead of $40,000, they're $20,000, but that's still a pretty good margin. You can still make a living with it, a very good one even. And at that point, when I attended like some local real estate events, and I realized that everyone was just dying. People were losing their shirts. There was blood on the street, and we had not really lost anything. Our margins went down, but we just shifted our model from big land auctions to online selling, and it kept going as it did. And at that moment, we realized that we needed to teach this because there was nobody in the world doing this other than perhaps 5 guys around the United States. We all knew each other, and that's it. Yet there's thousands of house flippers in every single market. So we ended up starting our educational company, Land Profit Generator, right there in 2008, and with a big product launch with a home study course, and then we added coaching and all this kind of things, and now we are the largest land flipping coaching company in the United States, and not just the largest, but by far the one that is most successful, with having created over 1,000 millionaires already, and on a quest to create 10,000 millionaires out there.
Wow, that's a remarkable journey. That's a great accomplishment, and a lot of people, they figure out something that works. They either do a lot of it and then they don't teach others, or they go to teach and they don't flip. So at this point, do you still do some flipping, or you mostly morphed into kind of educational business, and your students and your coaching students and take-home course students are the folks that are doing actual flips? I'm just curious if you're still practicing flips.
No, of course, we're still practicing. I wouldn't be ever comfortable teaching this without practicing it myself. We're still practicing it. We currently have about 100 properties that we have on the market selling, and we also sometimes, again, we actually gone back to now occasionally doing land auctions. Just we're doing them online, and we're cooperating with online platforms, and we run some advertising to it, and then we sell like 30 to 50 properties in a matter of like a few hours on a Saturday morning. And you don't get the same prices and so on, but it's still a nice way to flush out a bunch of properties if and when you want to. And then also, again, my 15-year-old daughter now is in our coaching program. And so I'm helping her implement her business. That's something really amazing to do, because it's like we have coaching students, of course, and I coach one-on-one occasionally. I've actually mainly running the company now, and we have 16 coaches that coach. They're all product of our coaching program. They all succeeded like most people do, but they have succeeded at a level that they now make like $500,000 in income, and they came back, some of them, and said like, hey, if you ever need a coach, I would love to also help the next generation up and help the next generation succeed. So as we expanded our business, I've started coaching less, and now we have 16 coaches that coach, and obviously they get compensated for it too, but they coach really from the love of their heart of bringing the next generation up. And so as I'm coaching now my daughter, and I'm seeing her way of looking, it's like brings me back to 20 years ago of doing this again. But yeah, we do deals ourselves. We do them ongoing. We're doing ongoing, and but I'm spending majority. But now it's systematized. We have an acquisition manager. We have a disposition people. We have marketing people. We have a team in place. And really, all I do is I set the pricing and I decide what to offer on these properties when we make offers.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you do and you teach, which is not frequent. A lot of folks either become professors or they become people who actually do. So it's great. And having 16 coaches, you've got a pretty big empire, this educational empire. I guess you've touched on a lot of people, and you continue to do that. Is there enough product out there? I'm just curious, because it feels like you do volume. Folks we work with, discount lots guys, they do significant volume too. And there are a number of other folks out there who do this. And I guess, is the US big enough? Or maybe folks do this outside of the US, they go other countries?
Well, the reason why, let me ask the second part of the question first, answer. The reason why it works so well in the United States is that, number one, I'm really perhaps answering both questions together, is that there's, I think, 7 times as much land as there is houses out here. So they're land parcels. There's 7 times as many land parcels as there is houses here. At the same time, there's probably for every 100 house flippers, there's 1 land flipper. So therefore, we really are looking at a 700 times less competition in the land flipping area as the house flipping area. And heck, even if my numbers are wrong, and if it's only 70 times less competition, it's still ridiculously amount of less competition. So does it mean that so with that said, yes, there's other people teaching this. Most of them actually are students, and they are now reteaching it too. So I mean, so I always like to say, yeah, the people can learn from the student or they can learn from the master. But bottom line is, like, there's people still teaching us. There's students coming to the market. But we haven't really even scratched the surface of what's possible in land flipping. Because also, I mean, one thing is that land flipping is obviously work like everything else, but it's so much simpler than most other real estate methods out there that a lot of people use it as an entry point into real estate. That doesn't mean they automatically stick with land flipping forever. Like, just like we have added multifamily. And actually, here's the thing, to continue my story. In 2009, we added single families. Because earlier you were asking, do we have portfolios in different markets and so on? Yes, we do, because we started in 2009. So I hope I answered your question. So yes, there's plenty of space. There's plenty of lots. And yes, there's people doing this now, hundreds or even a few thousand people in the US doing this. But compared to house flipping, it's still nothing. But now back to the thing is, why do we do but land flippers come in and they often do, guys, like even in CG, there's a student of mine, for example, that has come in. They've made $700,000 in the first year land flipping in our coaching program, and now they're building houses, and they don't do land flips anymore. Well, why is that? Well, because they knew nothing about real estate when they started. So they came across this, they fell in love with it, they're great, they're doing this, but as they then advance, they have a so much better understanding of all other real estate, because it's still real estate. So they, over time, they're like, they're progressing into other areas. So not everyone stays with everything, just like not every house flipper stays a house flipper forever. Some house flippers become multifamily guys, some house flippers become self-storage guys, some house flippers use their profits to buy 20, 30 houses and then retire. So there's always an in and out of the industry in that sense. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. Evolution, right? Folks evolve. They start with a land flipping business, simple, easy to understand, and that's a doorway into their real estate journey. And your journey led you into multifamily. So now let's kind of go into multifamily investing. Yes. What do you like? Right. What do you particularly like in multifamily? What markets you investing in? What are you looking for? What is an exciting deal for you in multifamily, and how things are different now versus a couple of years ago? We're recording this in mid-July 2023. Things are a little different now than a year or two ago. So just curious, what are your thoughts?
So what I like has changed in the last year dramatically. Right. So when we started out 2009, we bought single families. So we bought a portfolio of single families in Phoenix. Then as the prices started creeping up in Phoenix, we went and bought a portfolio of single families in Cleveland, Ohio. And then we bought a portfolio of single families in Omaha, Nebraska. And why those markets? Because I have relationships to the mastermind that we both belong to, and of people there that were able to get them for me, rehab them for me, rent them for me, and then just pass them on to a property management company. So then I basically treated them like a remote portfolio. And the truth is, of my portfolio in Cleveland, I've only seen one of these 20-something houses that we bought over there. It wasn't a big portfolio, smaller portfolio, but I've seen one of them because just after a while, when you have a trust relationship with somebody, you know that this person, you know that the next deal is good. I saw the pictures, I saw all the data, but you know that you can trust that person, and then the next deal comes in. So they bought them for us. In the meantime, now we have sold most of the ones in Cleveland. We keep our portfolio in Phoenix, but the reason I'm mentioning it is that by learning how to manage a portfolio at a distance of Cleveland, by learning how to manage a portfolio in Omaha, and then even my portfolio of rental houses in Phoenix, many of them I haven't seen for 10 years. I've actually not even driven by for 10 years. And so that taught us to manage portfolios of real estate at a distance successfully. So after doing that, we then started thinking, well, if we can manage portfolio of single families, we should be able to also manage a portfolio of multifamily or a multifamily property remotely. So when we started getting to multifamily, we did not look in Phoenix, which was a mistake in aftermath because obviously Phoenix prices exploded afterwards. But we started looking for value add deals in the lower, let's say, like $5 to $10 million range because we couldn't qualify for more. And so we bought 93 units in Louisiana. We bought 90 units in North Carolina. We bought 146 units in Oklahoma City. And out of those, 2 out of 3 of those we have exited already. And one we're keeping long term. But now that the market has changed because it's in a stable market, it was a great purchase. It's a great cash flow property. It has gone up in value substantially, but it's just like it's a 99% economic occupancy, and has been at 99% economic occupancy for the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's just it's the easiest to manage property ever. So with that said, the other ones were like more buy, optimize, and go soft value adds, optimize, and then resell again. And now but we no longer look in those markets. I'm not in Oklahoma City anymore. I'm not in Louisiana, too many hurricanes. I'm not in any other markets. I'm not in the tertiary markets. We left all tertiary and tertiary markets. And right now we're only looking at a couple of markets in Florida and a couple of markets in and basically Phoenix, Arizona. That's the only 2 markets we're currently active in. I'm not even looking in Texas, very simply, even though Texas is like this #1 growth state, very simply because insurance cost has gone so freaking through the roof in some of these markets that it's not even funny. Like it makes it, to me, even a little bit too unpredictable. Versus insurance costs in Phoenix, where the prices are high in Phoenix. But Phoenix has a 40-year history of adding between 50 and 75,000 people a year to the metro area. 40-year history. So this is not stopping right now. As a matter of fact, the macro factors right now that drive the land and real estate industry actually have accelerated with people working from home. More people can move where they want to. And one thing about Phoenix, it's 110 degrees in summer. But starting September 15th or October 1st, all the way till the end of May, it is paradise. So people come here for those 9 months of the year, and they come here for Phoenix Open, for the Super Bowl this year, for things. And Super Bowl was 72 degrees on February 10th or 12th, whenever it was. So they're coming, that they're experiencing this. They're coming from wherever they're coming from. And they're like, oh my God, I want to move here. And a lot do. So we're getting this pressure on the real estate market with 75,000 people moving here. And at the same time, Phoenix is one of the few, or Arizona is one of the few states in the nation with no natural disasters. So we have no earthquakes, we have no hurricanes, we have no tornadoes, we have no floodings, we have none of that stuff. As a result, my property tax bill on 45 units, which is a small deal we bought last year, is something like, my insurance bill is something like $10,000 a year. My insurance bill on 57 units in Tampa is something like $80,000 a year. So the numbers, of course, that is reflected in the price. But from a predictability point of view, many markets, particularly like Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, are 100% unpredictable in the insurance rates. And Phoenix is very predictable. There's no reason for them to go through the roof because nothing happens here.
Jack, thanks for that. Great clarification. We certainly, not all of us, but many folks are aware of what's happening in the insurance industry, and it's been absolutely brutal. The insurance cost growth has been absolutely staggering in many markets, like you mentioned, such as high-risk markets, Florida, Louisiana, anything that has a risk of natural disasters. It's been and insurance companies have been vultures, and I can't put it any other way. They have some events that they pay out, and then they push the rates up like there is no tomorrow. And so my question is, why even bothering to look in Florida if you have a great thing going in Phoenix? You know the market, you know what to do, how to find deals. It's almost like if you figured out something that works, just do more of that and do it. Of course, the prices are high, but you're dealing with a market that you're comfortable. You're like a fish in the water in that market. And when you go into other markets, exactly Florida, you don't know what to do because the insurance can double in 2 or 3 years, and your net operating income can drop as a result. And yeah, some of these ratios are just obscene. $10,000 for 45 doors and $80,000 for the same asset, which is a lot of volatility.
I agree, but we do look at Florida just also because of the demographic migration patterns. So it's just harder to find deals over there, even harder than in Phoenix, because there is you have to conservatively underwrite those things. I mean, we had a conversation just recently where we talked about how some syndicators out there still underwriting like COVID or like 2002, or the interest rates raise has never happened. It's like crazy. So we underwrite ourselves out of a lot of deals because we're just not willing to take those risks. But we're still looking, because if I can put enough reserves and put enough of a buffer for the insurance, even in like worst case scenario of a doubling over the next few years into the books, and the deal still pencils out, and I can get a deal like that, then it's still worth getting it there. And for example, we particularly in Florida like Tampa, because for some reason or the other, hurricanes always seem to go around it. They come into Florida, they come into Miami like every 3 weeks, right? They go to Orlando. But then they come over, or they go right away into the Louisiana area and Texas area. But they very extremely rarely go into the Tampa area. At least historically, we analyzed it. So Tampa is kind of the market we like to be. Tampa is also a market that has it's a very solid market. It gets about 30,000 people moving there every single year, and also has a decade-long pattern. So basically, we like those markets for those fundamentals. But obviously, we're underwriting Florida substantially different than we're underwriting Phoenix from the insurance point of view.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. This is a great episode. We're probably gonna have to do a follow-up episode, but for this one, we have to. All good things must come to an end, and so does this episode. So how would folks get a hold of you if they want to learn more about land flipping, or just your coaching programs, or anything else you talked about? What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, if you want to hear about what we do on the land flipping and coaching side, you can simply go to Land Profit Fun, like having fun, like FUN, I don't have a fund, so therefore it's without the D. So landprofitfun.com, like having fun. And if you want to learn more about multifamily or things like that, you can go to orbitinvestments.com. And you can also follow me. I may have a podcast. It's called The Jack Bosch Show. Bosch is Bosch, like the washer, dryer, spark plugs, power tools. And I also I'm pretty prominent on social media lately, so you can search for me on Instagram. That's Jack Bosch, and TikTok on Jack Bosch, and Facebook also as Jack Bosch.
Thank you, Jack, so much for coming on a podcast, sharing, providing a lot of wisdom, a little bit of your history, and a lot of great nuggets. We'll have to do episode number 2 soon enough, but for today, thank you. Appreciate you, and enjoy the hot summer in Phoenix. Stay indoors.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Yeah, we're heading out here soon, going out to Hawaii.
All right. Enjoy.
Thank you for listening to the Big Mike Fund Podcast. To receive your copy of Mike's How to Choose a Smart Real Estate Fund book, head to BigMikeFund.com or visit Amazon and type Mike's slot dig. Keep listening and keep investing Big Mike style. See you on the next episode.